All right, what is up, anglers? You're back with California fishing news for October 17th, 2019. Halfway through October, and the fishing is rolling right along. Before we get into the specific fishing stuff, we are on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify now, as well as YouTube if you want to get some of the visual stuff. I have made a Facebook page this week too, so you can find California Fishing News on Facebook, California Fishing News on Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you have any questions or any reports or anything, feedback at all, you can email californiafishingnews@gmail.com and I'll get back to you. All right. So more than halfway through October, yellowfin are still rolling right along. We can take a look at marine traffic, see where these boats are. They're down southwest of the Coronado Islands, not super far. We see on temp break, they're down right about the 425, looks like. There's been plenty of reports between the 425 and the 371. It's kind of the same spot, more or less, for the past couple weeks, but they are sliding south a little bit. Also, if you look at temp break, the temps are cooling a little bit. If you look at the 8-day sea surface temp, lots of 71-degree water, everything's 68 plus. And now if you look at the 3-day composite, we got some 65-degree water showing up. The areas of warm water are shrinking. So the water is definitely cooling off. There's still plenty of warm water all the way up towards Catalina. There's 71-degree water, but it's getting a little bit patchier, and it's just cooling off a little bit overall. We don't have great chloro or sea surface temperature 1-day charts, just from some cloud cover. Yesterday, the satellites can't get it, but you can keep an eye on it and you can see. There's also the historic sea surface temperatures, so you can go back and look, like the 8th, they got bad reading, 10th, but you can go through and click and you can see how you watch it change. So you can go to tempbreak.com, it's free. I think there's other sites you can pay for, but TempBreak does good enough for me, and it's all free. There's been some really, really good fishing, though, for the yellowfin this past week. Some epic trips. Yesterday, the San Diego put on over 200 on a full day trip. The Liberty was on an overnight, got 165 for 33 anglers, full limits. And in the last week, there's been some really, really good trips from multi-day trips. The Condor had a trip where they put on, there's 24 anglers, 360 yellowfin, full 3-day limits, a whole bunch of bluefin, 50 to 80 pound bluefin, and a bunch of skipjack as well. Just super, super, super good fishing. However, there were a couple slow days there. Yesterday, as I said, the full day boats did really well. The day before, the full day boats did not very well at all. The fish were there, they just weren't really biting. So, like always, it's not like you're going to get full limits every single day, but there's still plenty of good fishing going on. As far as bluefin, they've really made a showing again, not just of all size classes. In the past week, there's been at least one 170, 180, some fish in that size class caught, one 200 plus caught, and then a bunch of the majority of them have probably been 40 to 60, and then there's also been some 100 to 120, 125 pounders caught as well. It seemed like the 40 to 60 fish was out kind of towards the Butterfly Bank, maybe the San Salvador Knoll. A lot of times those boats on multi-day trips were fishing towards the 371, 425 in the AM, and then heading out west to the bluefin grounds in slightly cooler water. But that is not the only place the bluefin have been. They've been spread out a lot. There's been reports of them throughout U.S. waters, from 7 miles out of San Diego Bay, right by the Mexican border, all the way up to off Dana Point, North County. The Blue Horizon is a boat out of Oceanside Sea Center now in Oceanside Harbor. They ran 2 full-day trips out of Oceanside targeting them. They didn't get a ton of fish. I think the Saturday they got 2 bluefin at 50 pounds, and Sunday I couldn't find a fish count, so maybe they just didn't call it in. Could be no report, which is never a good sign. But they did report seeing a lot of these fish from 50 on up to, they called 130 and maybe even biggers, and those are spread out through U.S. waters up here. Other reports of fish from different size classes up there. One day, the Enterprise, which is out of Pure Point, I believe, in Long Beach, was on the way back from Catalina. They ran into schools on the way back and went 1 for 3 with the 50-pound fish landed. But more exciting than probably any of this stuff is the really big ones kind of disappeared. We talked about last week. No one really found them, and it seems like they showed up again this week. There was a report of them off Catalina, the backside, and off the tip of the north of Clemente Island. One guy, he said it was just fish as far as the eye could see, all 100 to 200 pounders. And another guy, really reputable, said he was diving for yellowtail off Catalina Island. Well, he didn't name the island, but it wasn't Clemente. He said it was the other island, not Clemente, so it's got to be Catalina. And he said he wasn't ready for it, but the big ones showed up. So he could have been anywhere on the backside. It makes sense that they're off up here in the San Nicolas. I mean, these fish can move a lot. There was one season when all the boats were fishing them, and they'd find them 20 miles in a different direction every day. So the fish can move a lot, but it's good to know they didn't peace out for good yet. I mean, we all expected them to come back. The past couple of years have seen really good bluefin fishing until November, even December. But it's good. I've got a trip booked in late November. I'm hoping the big ones are still around. We get some shot at cows. So that's pretty exciting. Oh. Moving on. Swordfish. Bite sport fishing. We've all talked about it a few times around in Hayward. They ran a trip. They said they had to kind of twist this guy's arm to talk him into doing the swordfish, and they got 2. I mean, what an epic photo. I don't know if there's how many boats in Southern California have ever got multiple swordfish in a day recreationally, but they did it, and they said, we will be fishing swords from now through December. We will be doing a few fall sword trips in our open party schedule as well. You can give them a call, look at Bite Sport Fishing on Instagram to get their number. The rates will be the same as bluefin. It is $2,100 for a 3-pack, $2,800 for a 4 on the 28-foot Parker. $700 a person for the open parties. You know, it sounds like a lot, but it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And deep dropping most of us around here have never done it and are not really used to it. If you want to get dialed in, you want to get exposed to it, the best way to do it is to go with someone who knows what they're doing. And obviously, Brandon on Bite Sport Fishing knows what he's doing. Other thing, Eric Landisfield, who writes for BDs, everyone knows him, big in the community here. He made one post about the rods to use, and he said he will be writing an article in the future about it to help demystify it for everyone. So that'll be something to look for when he does get that done. I'll make sure to tell everyone about it here. Moving on from swordfish to inlands, islands, and the surf. Inshore islands and the surf. Catalina is still kicking out yellowtail every day. Not huge numbers, but they've spilled in mainly that 20 to 30 pound nice grade yellowtail. Clemente Island still holding some. Not a ton of boats are fishing it, so it's hard to get like a really good report, but there's definitely still yellowtail around Clemente, which you can expect for the fall as well. And up in the Channel Islands, the Mirage Sport Fishing out of Channel Islands Sport Fishing, they were on a 2-day trip, 17 anglers. They got 14 yellowtail. In their counts up there too, there was 1 white sea bass, there was a halibut, and then, of course, good white fishing, some ling cod, and some rock fishing. So all the islands, seeing really good fall fishing, bottom fish at all the islands, like always, as well as a good shot at these big-sized yellowtail. Lastly, it's not really in the islands, but we'll lump in Cortez Bank here. A few boats on these multi-day trips went out and did some yellowtail fishing on the anchor at Cortez, and they all did all right, had good fishing. Not wide open like it was when we talked about last week when, the Thunderbird put 143 20-pound average size yellowtail on the boat in one day, and the Freedom is out there. There were some boats just destroying the yellowtail out there. It's not that hot anymore, but still, there's been 25, 30, 40 yellows caught a day for boats sitting on the anchor out there. Super fun fishing, and you never know what you can get out on the banks. When the weather's good and you get out that far, it's awesome. Fishing on the anchor is another separate skill, too. I remember learning to offshore fish drifting. You get decent at it and proficient at least, and then you get on the anchor and it's a whole nother ball game. So if you've never done it, it's fun. It's another little challenge to learn, but look for that in these multi-day fall trips. It's a great time of year to go fishing. Moving on to inshore, I got a report from Brandon Hoff. Shout out Brandon, dude, thank you for the report. He fished some local San Diego kelp this week. He saw 65.5 degree water, tons of bait everywhere in the kelp and out of the kelp. He hooked one yellowtail but lost it at the boat, and then got a couple 3-pound calicos on weedless baits, quote, running the bait on the surface through the lanes. So that's awesome. Calico fishing, weedless swim baits, always a good time. And it's good to know you don't have to go chase these tuna. You don't have to take your boat 30, 40 miles. Go fish inshore. You got a chance at yellows in the kelp. Got a chance at good calicos. Tons of bait around that could mean good things for the fall fishing locally as well. Moving on to the surf. Still some surf reports coming through. Sand crabs have been reported. They're becoming less plentiful, harder to find, and when you do find them, they don't have the orange row. If you never surf fish, obviously you pretty much, if you can, only use the ones with the orange eggs. And even the best sand crabs are the ones with eggs and a soft shell. You squeeze them and their shell just caves in a little bit. Those are just the money. They're really hard to find though. But all summer I pretty much only use ones with eggs in it. If they don't have eggs, I mean, they'll still hit them sometimes, but you want to use the ones with the eggs. So they're getting harder to find, but there's still fish in the surf. If you can't get the sand crabs, we've talked about it before, you can use scripsistoid. Bloodworms are the best, but they're expensive. Gulp, sandworms, gulp in the red or the camo. Mussels, if you don't mind trying to deal with them staying on the hook. There's other bait you can use. And there's been reports of yellowfin croaker being caught, spotfin croaker being caught, less corbina being seen up in the shallow water as the temps drop, which doesn't, surprise us too much. In the past couple of weeks, all this coastal water right along the beach has been 70, 71, 72, and now we're starting to see it drop to 69, 68, 67, even 66 in spots. I mean, it doesn't mean it's going to continually drop all year. You might get a little warm water pushing north again, could fill it back in, but it is late October, we're moving in November. The corbina are only going to be here for so long. So if you feel like going down to catch some of the typical surf species, go for it. There's also a report of at least one legal halibut caught in the surf. If you've never done that, that's a real humbling experience, at least in my experience trying to fish halibut in the surf. I've cast in the surf thousands of times and landed one legal halibut and just a couple shorts. So, I mean, people who get it dialed in the right beaches, the right tides, the right conditions, you can do all right. But you got to put your time in. But the halibut do come in shallow in November. I've heard to spawn. They go into the lagoons. They come shallow. So it's not a bad time of year to go and chuck some lures in the surf. Lucky Craft Flash Minnows obviously go to for that. You can also drop shot small plastics. You can fish crocodiles. I mean, whatever you think of. But those are the main ways people do it. Moving on from the surf, we'll talk about lobster. We still have our 3 local boats running lobster trips. It's basically the Josie Lynn out of Point Loma Sport Fishing and Alicia and the Jig Strike out of H&M Landing. They all have some okay counts picking away. It's not limits or anything, but you got a chance to go out and get them. And it's fun if you don't have a boat to hoop off of. It's a good way to go. The Alicia and the Jig Strike are 65 or 70 bucks a night. The load is at 10 people, so everyone gets one hoop, and you kind of get what comes in your hoop. The Josie Lynn, it costs more. They run trips less often, but they limit it to 5 people, so you get 2 hoops. I think it's 120 bucks for the trip instead of 65 or 70, but you get twice as many hoops. So depending on what you want to do, what your budget is, to some people, 120 bucks isn't much. To other people, 65 bucks is a lot of money to go try to catch some lobsters. So, but it's good to know you have some options. The last one we talked about last week is the Gale Force Sport Fishing, and they do their 12 to 12 combo lobster and fishing trips to Catalina. Go to Gale Force Sport Fishing or on Facebook, or you go to their website. You can check them out. They don't have a ton of openings, it seems, but I saw today they said we had some cancellations. They had 3 openings for the trip tonight. No one's going to be listening to this probably in time to hop on that one, but it's one to keep an eye on if you're up in the LA area, or if you want to do a combo trip, fish Catalina a little bit, maybe for yellows in the morning, and then get a chance at rockfish as well as lobsters at night. While we're talking about lobsters, we got to get a little somber for a second. I want to talk about Ryan Huff again, who was a diver who died on opening day. Basically, there's been a lot of inaccurate reports of what exactly happened in the news, and so his sister made a statement, and I wanted to read it to everyone here. Quote, "I am Ryan Huff's sister, and there have been a lot of inaccuracies reported. There are still reviews being done, but we do know factually Ryan went lobster diving on the morning of September 28th, 19, freediving. He is fully certified and also scuba certified, a very experienced diver. After catching his quota, he went spear diving, going after a fish. He missed and his gun got stuck. He was at the end of his breath hold, and although his dive partners were already coming to help him, it is believed he had a shallow water blackout. By the time his partners had gotten to him, he was not conscious. Due to the swell in his unconsciousness, he then likely got entangled in a spear line. His knife was on his arm, and his dive watch initial review by OC Spiros showed no change in heart rate or any indication that he was struggling. It is being reviewed by the top in the U.S. for any further details it may provide. His dive partners cut his line and pulled him up. He was not floating. They had to pull him to the beach in high swells. It took approximately 10 minutes for his dive partners to realize something wasn't right and get him to the surface, and due to high swells, approximately 15 minutes to get him to the beach. This was not an inexperienced man or negligent team. This was a tragic accident and a dangerous sport. More confirmed details will be emerging, clarifying details. But as his family, talking to people there with him, experts who worked with him, it is upsetting to see more inaccurate news. Thank you. Really sad stuff, guys. I'm pretty sure there was also another diver. I don't think it was local, but I saw posted who died because they got hit by a boat. Just remember, freediving is inherently super dangerous. Hundreds of people died to shallow water blackout, and it's not going to stop. If you've never heard of it, there's some things you can do. Obviously, take a class with FII, PFI. You can learn about the safety stuff. Dive safe. Don't push your breath holds. And there's something called a FRV, free dive recovery vest. There's debates about how helpful it would really be lobster diving, because a lot of times if you're bug diving, you're in caves and stuff, and if you get caught, that's why you're going to die, not just due to shallow water blackout. But for blue water diving, you can set a time and a depth on it, and it's something you wear. It's not too cumbersome. You can look at their website, and it has CO2 cartridges. And basically, you can set it, let's say, at, like, if I was going to go around, I might set it at, I know I can dive, a minute comfortably. 2 minutes means something happened. So I could set it at 2 minutes, and I could set it at, let's say, 75 feet, because I don't dive any deeper than 75 feet. If you either hit 76 feet or you're underwater for more than 2 minutes, it automatically inflates your stuff, shoots you to the surface, and puts your head up. They're not cheap, but we spend a lot of money on fishing, a lot of money doing these hobbies. It can be worth it if you're a free diver. Check out the free dive recovery vest. Otherwise, just dive safe. We talked about it before. Have quick release on your stuff. Don't push it at the end of your breath holds. And, dive with a buddy whenever you can and really watch each other. There's plenty of times you dive with a buddy in California, but if anything happened, you're not really close enough. Like, we're not in Florida where you have good viz all the time. If you're like white sea bass hunting, for example, with somebody else, and you're in a kelp bed, but other guys, even just 10 yards away, if you had a shallow water blackout and you did sink, there's pretty much a 0% chance your buddy could even do anything if you're not really with each other. So just make sure, dive safe, guys. It is pretty sad stuff. That's it for lobster. Go get them. Moving on, for the weather of the week, I'll just read this. You can go to the NOAA San Diego offshore, Google that, you'll find this site, or you can go to windy.com yourself, but I'll read it for people who are just listening. Today it looks like it's going to be a little windy. Well, not too bad on the inshore. So coastal waters from San Mateo Point to the Mexican border and out to 30 nautical miles. Today, wind variable less than 10 knots, becoming southwest 10 knot with gusts of 15 knot in the afternoon. Wind waves 2 feet or less. Mixed swell west 2 to 3 feet at 7 seconds and southwest 2 feet at 15 seconds. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday all look pretty good. Friday, less than 10 knot, becoming 10 knots with gusts of 15 in the afternoon. Saturday, wind variable less than 10 knots, becoming 10 knots in the afternoon. Sunday, wind variable less than 10 knot, becoming 10 knot in the afternoon, getting a little repetitive here. And Monday, the same. Wind variable less than 10 knot, becoming 10 knot in the afternoon. It looks pretty good. The 30 to 60 mile range out, including San Clemente Island, looks a little bit worse. Today, it says wind 10 to 20 knots. Friday, though, okay, 10 knots, becoming 10 to 15 in the afternoon. And then Saturday, 10 knots, 10 to 15 with gusts to 15 in the afternoon. Sunday looks good. And Monday looks really good. Wind variable less than 10 knots. Nothing even about the afternoon. So it looks decent. A little windy today. We can also look at windy and play the animation of the forecast for those of you who are watching on YouTube, and you can see it. Today looks a little bit windy, a lot of green area in the tuna grounds. And then Friday looks better. Blah, blah, blah. Go to windy.com, put it in, learn to read it, learn to read the animations. And as always, with all the weather and wind stuff, check multiple sources, do your best. Nothing is ever perfect with the weather prediction. Moving on, after weather, we'll talk about long-range fishing. It sounds like it's been an excellent year for wahoo, which is, pretty cool. That's always, I know it's the top fish on my I have not caught yet list. And a lot of people, it's insanely good eating, fun to catch, and it sounds like it's been a super, super good year. There's a report on Bloody Decks. Go to the San Diego Long Range Fishing Forum about a trip that was just epic. They had really, really good fishing for a bunch of species. So you can check that out there. Besides that, you can go to longrangesportfishing.net, which I'm showing here, and get different reports. only real development. Guadalupe's been biting good to okay all season so far. Sounds like the Sharks haven't been too bad like they have been in some years past. But today, the Polaris Supreme did report, the Royal Star reported on yesterday that they had really good yellowtail in the morning, which has been, kind of a development. There's been good tuna fishing, but the yellowtail have not been showing so much this year at Guadalupe, so that's kind of cool. It's good. They get, a lot of times, these 40, 45-pound yellows down there. You get in the dropper, looper, yo-yo, or surface iron. Real slug. So that's awesome that they showed back up. They did say that the tuna fishing has been a lot of show, no little go. Tons of fish around, splashing, crashing, but not too many eating hooks with the bait in it. They still tricking a few a day, but not epic tuna fishing, but it's nice the yellowtail showed, and overall, it sounds like it's been a really good long-range season. Moving on to Northern California and Central California, there's a good bit going on up there. First, we can talk about the Delta. There were some solid striped bass reports, not super, super good, but nice size striped bass being caught on topwaters, on swim baits, different things. Rock fishing and ling fishing still good. When the weather's good, the boats can head out to the island I forget the name of the island that's off of San Francisco, and get really good rock fishing, and usually a ling to 2 lings a person, full limits, so that's awesome. There's still been some king salmon being caught, but some people are starting to, the season ends on the 31st this month, so there's exactly 2 weeks left, and some of the boats are kind of done with it for the year. But they did report having a really, really good salmon season this year, so that always bodes well for the future. And those fish that are starting to fade out of the ocean are moving up into the rivers to spawn, but we'll talk about that in the freshwater section next. The other news up there is the boats are getting ready to switch to these combo crab trips they do in the fall. Dungeness crab season is opening on November 2nd. People are really excited up there because, it's been a bad few years for the crab fishery. In the 15-16 season, they had to close it due to the toxic algae bloom they were worried about. And then last year, the California Department of Fish and Wildlife got sued by this organization because the crab traps were becoming a hazard for the whales and the turtles. I'm all for conservation, and that is sad if, the whales are getting caught up in them. But it's just another one of those battles between, conservation and these commercial fishermen that make a living at it. So last year they cut the season like 2.5 months short. After the year with it being closed, it's been a rough rough few years for crabbers up there. So everyone's really excited to get going. I did this once up when I went to Sonoma State, and it was this combo stuff, and it was so fun. We dropped into the crab pots. We went and did rock fishing, shallow water rock fishing, and got a bunch of rockfish and lings in like 40 feet of water on these boiler rocks. Just the best ling fishing I've ever had, really shallow. And then we went and pulled all our crab pots, and it was just epic. We got full limits of crabs. That was a number of years ago now, but generally a vast majority of the catch of the crabs, like more than 50% or something, are caught in the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. So kind of like the lobster season down here, there's no pressure on them. Then they start getting wiped out as the season goes on, or the population starts going down, the ones that are catchable. So if you want to go get on some crabs, the beginning season's the time to do it. Season opens November 2nd. There's a whole bunch of boats up there, and they generally do the sort of combo trip with rock fishing and crabbing, so you can look into that. Moving up a little bit north, some more albacore have been caught in the last week, which is always exciting to hear about as a Southern California person who's never seen an albacore in real life. I didn't get into the offshore scene until after the albacore are gone, so they're like a mythical unicorn to me. But they got some out of Bodega. Not a ton. Real Magic reported fish west-northwest of the head. I think it's Bodega Head in 9,100 feet of water, 62 degrees, clean blue. They got 4 quality fish of 20 pounds on the troll. You can go to realmagic_captain on Instagram, or Google Real Magic Sport Fishing for their website. I think right after this, though, the weather turned, and so it's not accessible, but you can keep an eye on it, and albacore, when they do really bite, they can start getting really good numbers, so you never know. There was also some Dorado caught out of Bodega, the same boat. Let me find that one. Boom. This was 4 days ago. Tuna in Bodega Bay. They got 8 fish to 23 pounds, 46 miles west-northwest of the hone of the head. And a day or two before, This was 5 days ago. A couple more awesome picks of our epic day here in Bodega Bay. They got Dorado out of Bodega Bay 5 days ago. I mean, it's not totally unheard of. I'm pretty sure this year they got one off of Oregon or some off of Oregon. And, the bluefin, there's always been stray bluefin up there too, or there have been the past few years. But it's pretty crazy to get Dorado. These people think about Mexico and Cabo and the equator when you think about Dorado. So the fact that they're up off Bodega, kind of crazy. Pretty cool. Check out realmagic_captain on Instagram. Boom. And moving on, we'll talk about freshwater. First thing I want to talk about briefly, big news in the bass fishing world was that Major League Fishing acquired or combined with FLW this week. There's been, some people think this is a great thing, some people think it's a terrible thing. I don't have a real opinion. I'm not a tournament fisherman anymore. I fished the FLW College Series, and it was awesome. FLW did a lot of great stuff for college students and allowed us to have some experiences we never could have had. But I think basically the owner FLW passed away some time ago. Since then, it's been not doing as well. So some people think it's the MLF buying FLW is a lot better than FLW closing its doors. Now, though, it used to be there's the BASS, there's FLW, and there's MLF, and now there's pretty much just MLF and the BASS. So generally, less companies, less competition is not good for any sort of market. But, they promise to do some interesting things. They want to make the entry fees lower. There's potential that this could work out really well. Some people aren't excited, but, we'll have to see how it plays out. If you want to read more about it, you can go to flwfishing.com. There's an article about how it'll affect you if you fish these tournaments. They talk about the schedule, the changes, stuff like that. So check that out if you're interested in hearing about that. Moving on. Other freshwater stuff. It's been really good trout fishing throughout the middle and upper half of the state. There's been good reports of Bridgeport, Grant Lake, Mary Lake, the Owens, Little Lakes Valley, everywhere up there. Temps are cooling off. The fish are getting ready to do their thing. They're coming up shallow. Super, super good trout fishing. My buddy was up there, Adrian. Shout out to you for the report. Thanks, dude. He went up camping with some buddies, hiked into Little Lakes Valley, caught a bunch of small brookies on lures, and then went down and fished the Owens for just a little bit. Caught one nice brown. He did say they got eaten alive by mosquitoes. It was almost unbearable down there, so bring your DEET. I know, being a conservation and environmental-minded person, I talked to somebody once that talked about, DEET's bad for the blah, blah, blah. You try to use all natural shit, a lot of it doesn't work. Get DEET. Mosquitoes are the worst. It'll save your trip. Otherwise, after trout... Oh, about trout too. Eagle Lake had a call in this report. Apparently, Eagle Lake's going off. If you've never heard of Eagle Lake, it is north of Tahoe, up kind of due east of Redding. I had it on the map up here if you're watching. It's just east of the Lassen National Forest in Lassen County, and it is special because it has its own subspecies of rainbow trout, the Eagle Lake rainbow trout. And there's different hypotheses about why, but they get big quicker and they just get bigger. 5-pounders are a lot more common up there, wild 5-pound rainbows, than pretty much anywhere else in the state. So ever since I've heard about it, I've wanted to make my way up there and fish it. I have not made it yet. Me and my buddy Scott have talked about it. Scott, if you listen to this, hopefully we get out there soon. Maybe not this year, maybe next year. But it's worth checking out if you want to go up north. Also, this whole area of the state is where it's time for the salmon fishing, the steelhead fishing, and the trout fishing. There's the Klamath River, there's the Klamath National Forest, Trinity River, Sacramento River that comes up through Redding. All of them, the king salmon that were off the coast are moving up through the state, going up to do their spawning thing. It's a good time of year to go do that. And that's it as far as fishing. Last thing I want to talk about are events. We mentioned last week the Bloody Decks Pumpkin Carving Contest is happening. They're giving away, last year I got second, I said I won some Bubba Blades. They changed sponsors this year and they're giving away some Dexter knives. You can go to Bloody Decks, and Michelle posted some of the entries so far, and it's slightly demoralizing because these people are far more talented than I am, and there's already 3 that will probably kick mine's butt. But I got some pumpkins here on the table. Well, I'm going to carve one anyways, give it a shot. Why not? Me and my girlfriend carve pumpkins anyways every year, so I make a fishing theme and submit. But yeah, this one's super rad. Another one's super, super good. I mean, these people are just talented and have the tools and stuff. So it's a little demoralizing. I probably won't win this year or place, but I'm still going to do it. It's fun. Still going on is H&M Landing Kids Fish Free this month on a half day, one fully paid adult. The kid gets to fish for free. And lastly, the Fisherman Landing Tackle Day is going to be on November 4th. So if you've never been, it's really fun. A lot of vendors have these booths, there's sales. It's just a good time. It's like a little mini Fred Hall 4 months earlier. So if you're around, it can be cool to go down. Sometimes they let you on some of the boats. You can check them out or bring like your girlfriend or kids who've never gone on the boat and so they can see the bunk and the bunk room and all that. But yeah, check that out on November 4th. Good time to get some deals. That's it for this week, guys. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe on your phone. You'll get the download every week. That'd be awesome. Give us 5 stars in the App Store. Subscribe on or follow on Instagram, all that stuff. Thank you for listening. I'll be back next week. And any questions, comments, feedbacks, or reports, you can email me at californiafishingnews@gmail.com. I'll see you guys next week. Tight lines.